I think Rorgar is also just gonna say a quiet prayer and take his rest, and hope that the next day is a better one.
All right, sounds good. So you guys are going to do a full long rest, so like 8 hours, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So it's 9 p.m. If y'all do 8 hours, that'll put you at 5 in the morning on the next day. And while that matters, then go ahead.
Then we can get on the road pretty quickly, so we might as well go to sleep earlier.
While this matters is I'm keeping a running clock of not only the time of day, but like what the dragon's doing, and then also your curse time, because you know the curses that you all have from seeing the Frost Maiden have an expiration. So I'm keeping track of all that too. So in the meantime, yep, you can all regain your hit points, regain spell slots and all that. Everyone except for Virion, of course. Virion, your knights are still troubled because you still carry the curse from before.
Perfect.
So everyone else has a nice rest in one of the houses that you're squatting in inside of Lonelywood, except for Virion. And Suzanne also can heal up to full health as well. You all begin to stir. I think Guardian and Virion, of course, you were not down for the entire time, but you all begin to stir around 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And the sun doesn't actually start to rise in Icewind Dale, at least the low level of light that you get until a little later. So it's still completely dark outside. When you start to hear people, walking in Lonelywood, it looks like villagers have started to return.
Is it just me and Varian up right now, or is it everyone?
I skipped as far enough to where it's everyone.
I just look at everyone.
Do we know roughly where the dragon's going to be, or where it's going?
Based on the map that you have that Guardian gave you, you know that the next place it was likely going to was the town of Bremen. Why don't I show you the map so that we can talk?
Oh yeah, I believe our plan was to essentially try to intercept it at Bryn Shander.
Yeah. So it went from Lonelywood. Let me get a thing to draw it here. It went from Tourmaline to Lonelywood, and you're pretty sure it's going Lonelywood to Bremen. And based on the map that Guardian has, it's making like a round trip through all the 10 towns. So it would go like Bremen, Targos, Bryn Shander, and then so on and so forth. Something like that. But as far as the time it would take, you're not so sure on that because it got to Tourmaline fairly quickly. And then, of course, Lonelywood after that. You're not sure the time it takes for it to actually fly that kind of distance, and then what its goal is. If it's just destroying a town, you also don't know how long that'll take. That may be something that's not always consistent.
I believe we make way for Bryn Shander. Is that correct?
Virion very tiredly will just say, "Yep, let's keep moving."
Did Virion not get his hit points back?
Nope,
No,
because he
still
doesn't have
covered.
his curse removed. I used my last spell slot last time.
Okay.
I couldn't do it yet.
Friend, you're looking very tired. Let me say a little prayer for you, and I'll put my hand on his shoulder, and I'll give him 25 points of healing with lay on hands.
Ooh.
So after Rogar is done putting his hands on Varian, you notice more villagers are making their way into their houses, and you see Speaker Nimsy making her way down the street very slowly.
Speaker.
And she looks up Guardian, and you notice that, well, first of all, she's missing her glasses, which she normally keeps perched on her nose. Her hair looks very out of sorts, and she's walking with her head down, and she looks up, and you can tell her eyes are all like puffy from having cried a lot. And she says, "Hello, my friends. We had a difficult night. Thank you for saving the town. Apparently, you were able to drive off the dragon."
Just look around for a second at the buildings. Like, yeah, I'm saved. The offer still stands. If anyone wants to go to Good Mood, they can.
She says, "In the night, we were waylaid by those things that glow blue light. They killed many people, including the marshal."
Tall one, right?
Yes, the Goliath.
Shit.
I'm sorry that you all had to deal with that. The city should be safe for now, but we are going to head out to try to head off that dragon somewhere else.
If it comes back, where do you think we should go?
If it comes back, it means all the other towns are destroyed. There is a cave near Goodmead with an ogre and a bear and something else. They're friendly.
And the Battlehammer Hold is currently unoccupied.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
If it gets to all of the towns, it will be going back to Battlehammer Hold.
That or might circle around because it has no more directive.
If I'm honest, I'm not sure where you all should go. Just try to stay safe for now and rebuild what you can.
We lost so much from during the attacks. I don't know. I have to circle everyone around, see who's left, and figure out how we can make it. Not to mention how we're gonna collect the offering for next month's new moon. It's a lot to process right now.
Just take care of each other for now, and you can figure out the details later.
We burned the bodies. I remember being told that would help them from not rising into undead. So we're all very, very tired. Unless you need something, I'm gonna retire to my house.
No, we're gonna head out. Again, if you need it, good means there. For now. As long as it doesn't get destroyed. The more we stay around and linger, the more time that dragon has to get closer.
And she says, "Well, then I won't take up any more of your time. Best of luck." And she kind of turns and hobbles away back to her house.
And let's get going.
Yes, there's not a lot of good news going around at the moment, so let's just hit the road, I think.
And guards are gonna start walking.
Is there anything else you guys want to do here in Lonelywood?
I don't think so, but as we start getting on for the day, I'm gonna stop and talk to Varian as we're walking. Have you been sleeping any better since the last time you spoke to me?
Not really. Every time I close my eyes, I fall asleep. I feel like I'm about to heal up, and I just feel the same day in, day out.
Let me think for a minute. And she's gonna go in her bag and pull out her little basic prayer book and sort of run through it a little bit, and find something in there. Uh, I hear that this can take away certain afflictions of the spirit, so it's worth a try, maybe? And I'm going to cast Remove Curse.
Nice.
Hopefully, you'll be able to feel a little bit better tonight. If not, let me know and we can troubleshoot something else.
Yeah, so
Does,
very
He goes, says a couple of you guys are behind him. He just stops and looks back. He looks at Rogar for a second, and he goes like, "Come on, by the balls of Bahamut, gotta move on."
Does Virion notice any like change when the spell's cast?
yeah, it's like a haze has been removed from your sight. You're still very fatigued, but that sort of weight, that almost itchiness in the back of your mind has been lifted. The thing that was keeping you up all night, you feel like now you're just like walking asleep at this point. You could at any point just power down if you could.
Elijah, I don't know what you did, but I feel much better. Still tired, but better.
Great. Well, then I suppose when the sun comes up, thank the morning lord. And that'll probably be enough for him. Let's get going.
All right.
Yes, Suzanne is very eager for round 2. Let's make our way to Bryn Shander.
Yeah, let's not have any more plans if we don't follow through anymore. Garden just keeps walking.
You mentioning plan out of character. Your weapon, the chain, that's considered a magical weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Laja has the hammer.
Yep.
Okay. I just have a spell I want to use if we find the dragon, and I want to make sure I use it on the right person.
Magically cursed weapon.
I think everyone has a magical weapon except for you, Wargar, except yours has wings.
Yeah, I guess that does make up for it.
It's just a can of Red Bull.
I'd take it.
How dare you? Varian needs it.
No, that's the curse I have. I must hoard the Red Bull.
But as you're all making your way east towards the road that would take you south to Bryn Shander, Suzanne is kind of following beside you. But I imagine it is as before. There's sort of like a montage of you quickly running through the snow after Guardian, who's just plowing ahead like Mr. Plow.
How long is the trip to Bryn Shander?
So total Guardian speed, I calculated this before. It will take you about 3.5 hours with Guardian speed.
Could Virion ride Suzanne and maybe get a 4-hour power nap?
I think I'd allow that, but it won't take you a full 4 hours to even get there. So it will take you like half an hour to get to Tourmaline, and then if you cut south, that's the rest of your trip, the 2.5 hours. So total, yeah, it's only 3.5 hours. Like he could, I'd let him do a long rest if he had uninterrupted travel the whole time.
It's up to you if you want to do it. It's just an idea. Maybe you could just take a short rest.
I was gonna say even a short rest would be.
Well, we can technically, like, you guys go like, "Hey, Gary, let's slow down for a smidge for Varian too."
Well, Josh saying uninterrupted travel.
It's not a hint or anything.
More paranoid.
Yeah.
It's always worth a risk, try it.
Yeah.
Maybe he has to roll for it.
You could easily do a short rest though, for sure.
Yeah, I think short rest is safe, and I mean, I think I have 6 hit dice at this point, so.
Suzanne, make sure the ride is not too bumpy for our friend, and do not bite off any of his limbs, please.
Virion will jump up on the back of Suzanne and settle in for a little trance nap.
So Varian, it's probably quite uncomfortable riding on Suzanne because she doesn't have any kind of saddle. So you're just riding on those cold scales that she has. So it's probably quite uncomfortable, and there's no really good place to hold on either. She's not slimy, but she's very slippery. But you do find a way to like nestle between her wings. She folds her wings up, and you kind of can lean against it, but it's not strictly very comfortable.
It's not the best napping spot, but it'll do in a pinch, I guess. And he'll cross his legs and try and trance it out.
Get the map up just so y'all could see that the route that you're going to have to take is you have to basically follow the road to Tourmaline. You kind of have to if you're going to go the quickest way because you're following along the lake. So as you're journeying that way, you go about half an hour and you finally reach the remains of the town of Tourmaline. So Tourmaline, you heard before, you guys never actually went there, but you heard before that it was a town probably halfway between somewhere like Lonelywood and Goodmead. So somewhere around that size, probably 100, 200 people live there. Now there's really nothing. And you enter the outskirts of Tourmaline, not even realizing that you're doing that. And as you're walking, very quickly behind Guardian, you kind of slow down as you see pieces of wood poking up through the snow. And you quickly realize that the town had been destroyed the night before. And in just one night, Icewind Dale has pretty much covered it with snow so that there's very little of anything remaining of the town.
I imagine with how Guardian is now, he is just not caring about anything that might be of a sentiment value. Like, oh, hey, look, it's a little doll. Crunch underneath his foot. He's just plowing through.
And as you're moving your way, I guess you guys going to continue through the town then, making no stop?
Yeah, I think it's just that it's already done. There's nothing to do here, unfortunately. So just say a quick prayer as we go through and continue. Hope we can stop this from happening to every single town here.
And you go probably another, 5 minutes or so, and you're starting to head towards the outskirts of the debris that you see that was probably the town, I should say. When Suzanne stops walking, and Wargar, you notice because Suzanne was actually walking beside you with Virion on her back. And Guardian, you go a ways and you realize that no one is... You notice the absence of sound from Suzanne. And she's like scanning around very quickly with her eyes.
Suzanne, what is wrong? What do you sense?
I should say at this point it's probably like 5:30, so still very, very dark, and you start to see blue lights from the distance emerging on all three sides of you. Behind you, which is the road that leads to Lonelywood, you don't see the light, but around you on all the three sides you see what looks like a small blue light in all three directions, growing closer and closer.
Blue lights?
Mm-hmm. Blue.
If Virion is still kind of taking a power nap, I'll wake him up. Virion, there appears to be something coming. I'm afraid it might be some sort of spirits.
I mean, that was the best power nap I've ever had. I'd hate for it to be interrupted by ghosts or ghouls or something, but okay.
Could I use divine sense to determine if it's what I think it is?
Yeah, so two things happen at once. As you use your divine sense, Rogar, you immediately get a detection of undeath from all three places, and Virion, your sword starts to hum. And stepping closer and closer, this blue light kind of resolves into figures that you've kind of seen before, and what they look like are really the clothes of some people, like furs and things like that. But you don't actually see bodies underneath them. Instead, you see this blue light that appears, around, like it's almost like there's an ethereal form made out of blue light inside, and the covers are the clothes are somehow wrapped around it. But as the three lights move closer and closer, it's very obvious they are moving, directly towards you. And Rorgar, using your divine sense, you feel a very strong level of like malicious intent for you. And with that, if everyone could roll initiative for me, please. Elijah was ready.
Classic Rorgar's initiative.
I believe we start with Virion.
Oh, and Suzanne?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Suzanne does get her own turn.
I guess I could roll just a dex check.
On the sheet, it should have an option. There's like a little button that says initiative. If you select her token and then hit it.
There you go. She did good.
Oh, perfect.
Ooh, Suzanne.
Yeah, but there's 3 on each cardinal direction, north, east, and south, and no one to the west, because that takes you back to Lonelywood.
So each walker represents 3?
No, there's 3 total. I was just saying the direction they're in.
Oh, gotcha.
In case you hadn't seen them, they're kind of far on the map.
Right. So having sensed that feeling and the noise coming from Virion's sword, he's gonna pull it out and set off running and just try and take a big jump swing down on top of this walker here.
Uh, 16 will hit.
Okay. For 5 damage, and then he's going to land after his first attack and do a big uppercut swing.
14 total.
No, that should be. I think that's it.
Oh, also don't forget, because this thing is undead, you do additional damage with your sword.
Oh, that's right. Hang on one second.
Oh, sorry. If the 9 is the attack roll, that's a miss.
Yeah, the 9 is definitely a miss. What was the? Hang on. Just trying to pull up that Era Flame of Saloon. Or what? I can't find it now. Or the extra damage for undead. Oh, wait. It does an additional 1d8 of radiant damage. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, so 10 total.
And then, because I got that first hit, my little penguin swarm will burst out of their burrow for an extra 6 damage. I doubt that does anything, but just in case.
But the penguins swarm this thing, and as they're attacking it, they're tearing the clothes off, to pieces that this thing is wearing.
Perfect. Go, you little minions.
I think that moves us on to Suzanne.
I think we'll have Suzanne charge at this one that's Virion is attacking. And then just make a bite attack against it.
An 8 does not hit, unfortunately.
Maybe I shouldn't be the one to roll.
We'll say she's too worried about not biting Virion. and she misses the thing entirely. Takes it to
Totally fair.
Elijah.
Okay, I'm going to move down a little bit. And then I'm going to attack with my lovely forge hammer.
A 13 just barely hits. Wow, that's a good hit.
Great, not bad. And that'll be what I do this turn.
Okay. Taking it to you, Guardian.
I'm gonna rush this one here, entering a nice rage as a bonus action. And then I'm gonna whack it with my chain.
A 20 certainly hits.
11 damage.
9 damage. Oh, it's 11 damage, right? Because 2 for rage.
Mm-hmm.
So as you hit it with your chain, Guardian, parts of the clothes kind of smolder and little flames happen like on the shoulder from it. But moving on to the one that's, the one next to you, conveniently. He attacks you right away twice. First is a 21, and second is an 11.
First will hit.
So the first one hits you for 11 bludgeoning and 14 cold.
Both of that's gonna get.
And I think we go on to the next one. So the one that you're attacking, Virion, he holds his hand out and zaps you twice with this ray of cold. That's not really his hand, I should say. Like the arm of the clothes lift up, and shooting out of where the hand would be is a ray of cold. A 7, which I'm sure misses, and a 22.
22 will definitely hit.
For 25 cold damage.
Oh my god. Good.
And we go to the one that's next to you, Elijah, or closest to you, rather. He does the same thing. He lifts another arm, takes a shot at you first for 18, and then 22.
Those will both hit.
That's a total of 50 cold damage.
Oh, no. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm down.
Don't you take half of that, though?
Oh, I do take half of that because it's cold. Oh, you scared me for a moment there. I'm like, I have 44 HP total. No. Okay.
So as Rorgar wakes up and the rest of combat's happening around him, what does he do?
Yeah, I think he was in the middle. To use his divine sense, he was using some like ancient ritual, and he kind of closed his eyes and just hadn't noticed that the fighting had already begun. Oh, it appears my help is needed. Rorgar will move to here. I can't quite reach that one, but as I pass Laja, he will clutch his holy symbol in his shield hand and then kind of just tap Laja on the shoulder with his shield and cast Shield of Faith.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
And then I will hold my action to attack if this creature gets closer.
Okay. And I think we move on to Virion.
Virion's going to keep swinging at this one until he dies, basically. So Moonblade. 16
Yeah, 16 will hit.
for 9 damage on the first one. And take another swing with that.
20 hits.
For another
For-
9.
Cool.
And then the penguins will burst out of their little burrows and keep pecking away for 3.
21 total. As you slice away at it, Varian, it's really hard to tell how much you're hurting this thing because it's just like a glowing ball of light. But you notice the more that you're doing to it, like you're cutting off clothes and stuff, and underneath it, it's just revealing a brighter and brighter light as you're cutting away the remains of whatever this thing was. But that takes us to Suzanne.
Suzanne is going to move behind the cold light walker, and then bring her jaws down on, essentially trying to. Do these things look like essentially clothing with no one in it?
Yeah, they're definitely clothing with no one in it. If you can imagine, and the light that's underneath it, that's inside, doesn't even have like the shape of a person. It's actually like a glow that's coming from inside of them, but you can't see like a shape. I think I've shown y'all this before, but let me show you.
I think I just posted in the chat what I'm pretty sure. I should. Why did I post the actual image and not just a link to it? I'm dumb. But it's just like the cover of the thing. Oh, exactly. Yeah. So Suzanne will bring her powerful jaws down on the clothing and attempt to kill this thing.
12 will not hit.
But is Suzanne flanking?
Oh, yes, she has advantage. Hey, look at that crit. Nice. Yes, she is flanking. She does get advantage.
Whoa.
Ooh.
So here's what happens. It's not quite as a heavy hit as you would expect. So as she goes down to bite on this thing, her teeth sink into the clothing and she pulls out a good portion of like what would have probably been the shirt and the furs of this thing. But normally, I don't have a better way to describe this. Her bites would probably leave like a bit of frost behind from her very cold breath as she's constantly breathing. But there is no cold forming on the clothes of this thing. That's the best hint I can describe.
Yeah.
But that takes us to Lasha.
Well, I think I am just going to do the same thing and throw my forge hammer.
And a 15 will certainly hit. Wow, 11 again. That's a good hit.
Good amount of damage. I'm happy with it.
So you throw your hammer, it makes an impact on the side of this thing, then it flies back to your hand very reliably.
I love this hammer. It's beautiful.
We move to you, Guardian.
He is going to, you know what? Because he's annoyed this thing's still alive, recklessly attack twice with the chain.
Okay.
Two, 17.
That'll hit.
9.
Okay.
And then second attack.
22 will certainly hit. And 28 is what I've got.
It's like she's some good fire damage too. As he's attacking this thing, he just yells at it like, "I want to hear you scream."
Yeah, more parts of its clothing continue to catch on fire as you attack it over and over. That's probably very Ghost Rider with like the way you're swinging the chain back and forth, and the chain is still doing the thing that it did before, where it's, links of the chain are still smoldering and red hot.
Nice.
So just remember that the curse on that has not been removed, so it still has that quality.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy next to you, just after your attack, let's see, he does have advantage. So he leans forward to you with two of his outstretched arms, at least that the clothing raises, and he shoots two of those cold rays right in your face. 14 and a 14.
No.
Yeah, they both miss. And the one that's between Suzanne and Varian, let's see. He stays focused on you, Varian, and he makes 2 attacks right away. He doesn't use his cold again, but he kind of swings the pieces of his clothing at you, and the blue glow comes with him. So first he's going to, let's see, an 11, and the second attack is a 10, so it's probably missing right away.
Both misses, yes.
But then he turns his, what would be the head of this creature turns towards you, and with a bonus action, he kind of causes the light inside the hood of the clothing to grow super, super bright. It's a bright blue right in your face. If you can give me a Constitution saving throw.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, with a 5, you failed that save. So what's happened is you are blinded, at least until his next turn. And blinded means you automatically fail any ability checks, and rolls against the creature or against you have advantage, and your rolls have disadvantage.
Perfect.
And then taking us on to the one that is close to Rorgar and Laja. He again focuses his attention on you, Laja, but also to you, Rorgar. Both arms that were outstretched before. One takes a shot at you, Laja, and the second at you, Rorgar. So the first one at you, Laja, for a 7, which I'm sure misses.
Yes,
And
it does.
Rorgar, his attack is a 4, so that also misses. So he does a whole lot of nothing. Moving to you, Rorgar.
As Rogar charges forward, he'll say to Laja, "Stay close to me," and then he will charge forward. And seeing that these seem to be some sort of animated clothing, he's gonna aim for the buttons when he swings down with his axe. Maybe if we disrobe them, they will be ineffective.
21 hits. Apparently, this guy did have buttons instead of zippers.
And as the axe swings through the air, you see the edge of the axe light up with radiant light that spreads over the whole battlefield. And I will use a Divine Smite. So that's just the normal damage. And these things are undead.
They are.
So I believe I get an extra D8 when I do this. Yeah, so 3d8 radiant damage on top of that.
So 24. Okay, that's just one attack.
That's the first attack. This one's going to be a miss, but... I got one button!
20 also hits, yeah.
And I'll just do the normal damage.
32 damage, is that correct?
I believe so.
Paladin, Joe.
Actually, it's 36.
Oh, yeah.
24. Yep.
Those smites.
So your attack on this creature has taken a significant amount of the clothing away, and you see the light also beneath it. And it... Let's see. Moving on to Virion.
So Virion, as he goes blind, is just going to scream, not knowing what's happening, and just shout out to everybody, I can't see anything. I don't know what kind of witchcraft is going on here. Suzanne, you might have to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. And because Suzanne is still flanked, does it just negate the disadvantage?
Yeah.
Or is
yeah,
it
it's just
still...
it's just a straight attack roll, yeah, because you would have had advantage with her help.
Well, that's lucky then. So he's just going to blindly swing, hoping to do the opposite of what Rorgar did, not aim at the buttons, but aim for the center of the light now that he's hacked away at some of the clothing, but he's blind, so we'll see.
An 8 will not work for you.
Sounds about right. And then just a return swing, blind.
14 does work, though.
Well, he gets lucky. For 10, and after, I mean, his penguins, I would guess, guide him in which way he should be swinging his blade, and they will jump up and aid as much as they can.
You don't see it, but you hear the sounds of cloth being torn as the penguins tear into the remaining clothing of this creature. For everyone else in Suzanne, what you see is as the clothing is torn away, briefly you see the light of this thing, and it has no, like I said, no humanoid shape, but the light just quickly fades out with like a pop, and it's gone. And it's another penguin kill.
I love my babies.
Moving us to Suzanne.
So Suzanne lets out a mighty roar, which Varian has no idea why. And I think she will quickly fly over to the other side of the walker that Guardian is fighting. And then attempt to tear this one in half too.
20 will hit. Again, as Suzanne tears at the clothing here, she doesn't leave behind any frost, but she does manage to pull away more parts of the clothing. But Laja, behind you, you hear kind of like a pop and then a whoosh, and wind blows behind you as Suzanne takes flight.
Okay. Since Rorgar said stay with him, I'm gonna go up and I'm just gonna attack in melee, because why not?
An 18 certainly hits. I think it takes us to Guardian.
Wow. Well, I don't need to do reckless, but I still get advantage. Double attack away. 25?
Yep.
I just like hearing confirmation.
Their AC is 13. It's kind of low.
And a 20.
19 plus 16. So 35.
Yep.
And when you know it, as Suzanne distracts the creature as it kind of turns away, you hit it with 2 heavy strikes of the chain. And just as before, the light just disappears and the clothing falls to the ground.
Did it scream?
Nope. It's like a little pop almost, and the light just fades away.
I stomp on where it stood.
It's like Obi-Wan, is in A New Hope. The clothing just falls down and the body's gone. But the last guy that's left, he turns to you, Laja, and then also to you, Rorgar, and with both hands, he attacks each of you once. So Laja, 10, I imagine, misses?
Yes, it does.
And Rorgar 18.
That is my armor class.
I'm sorry, 25 cold damage.
I am resistant to cold.
But he turns to you, Laja, and much as he did with Virion, the blue light inside of the hood of the clothing glows super bright in your face. If you can give me a Constitution save, please.
You do get a bonus +3 to this save for being within 10 feet of Rorgar.
Oh, beautiful. That'll be a 16 then.
Yeah, that's enough. I should say that actually being close to Rorgar saved you because the DC was 14. So you were not blinded
Thank
by
you,
the light.
Rorgar.
I don't think Rorgar is aware. No, I said stay close.
You did.
But back to you, Rorgar.
Rorgar will shake off the effects of the cold. It's not that bad. Virion, it's not that bad.
Rorgar, where are you shouting that from?
Just open your eyes. I'm on the... Whatever. I'll move over to the other side of Laja, and I'll take 2 attacks.
That 20 works. And so does a 23. For 12. So 19 total. Rorgar, as you swing your axe again, your axe connects with the clothing, and sort of like with the others, the light immediately fades out, and the remaining or the tatters of rags from this creature's clothing just falls gently to the ground. And that is the end of combat.
Haha, friends, we have conquered these monsters. Virion, did you see me strike that final blow?
Are they all dead? I didn't see anything.
Oh. And I'll go over to Virion and friend. Unfortunately, I would be able to fix this for you if it was a different day. But today I do not have that spell prepared.
That's okay. Let's just keep moving onward.
No, you're going the wrong way. This way.
I may need to hold on to your shoulder or ride the back of Suzanne again.
Yes, it is. That is fine. That is okay.
Would I know offhand from how he's acting, since we've interacted with these things before, if this is a side effect that will wear off in a little bit, or if it has to be dealt with?
You know, based on the effect, I would say since this thing has died, Virion, your sight comes back fairly quickly. It's not unlike when
Has
you
like
look
a minute
into...
or two where it's like you went into a really bright area and then you went back inside.
Yeah, just like that.
You have to get
Walking
used to
out
it
of a
again.
movie theater in the middle of the day. Oh, there you guys are. Good job. I don't know if I helped out there at all, but I was swinging.
Suzanne tells me you actually killed one of those evil creatures.
I was just happy to help Suzanne, to be honest with you.
Well, Suzanne obviously needed the help. Isn't that right, Suzanne? And Suzanne's probably giving him the stink eye.
So modest. So brave.
Should we continue on our path? I know some of us took some damage in that fight.
Guardian's already walking.
And Rorgar will follow.
And Laja, I'd say with your passive perception, these are the things that you realize. You remember that before the marshal took off in Lonelywood, he was talking about things that matched the description of these cold light walkers in the forest, and he was worried about leaving the villagers unattended. And in fact, you know that he died basically defending them from these things. So what you have realized is that while you guys were able to dispatch these three fairly easily, if they were all the way in Lonelywood and they were this far south in Tourmaline, they're probably all over the place.
I think we should keep an eye out elsewhere, because we'll probably run into these again. And if not, then that's probably more luck than anything else. Do we still want to go at the same pace?
You can all slow down if you want to.
We have a dragon. We have a date with the dragon that we cannot be late for.
Okay, so then we'll keep an eye out the best we can, and if we have to deal with more of these, then we have to deal with more of these.
And as you continue south, just going to drop you on the map so you have an idea of where you're all traveling. So you continue down from Tourmaline pretty much to this point of the road. So you kind of have to go along the road to enter into Bryn Shander, which I'll describe in a minute why you had to do this. But you very quickly make your way. It's not 5 hours, it's 2.5 hours as you very quickly make your way south. In that time, Virian, you're able to complete that short rest if you wanted to.
All right. Oh, that's not great.
But there's a lot to describe here. So as you've made your way south past the lake, you've pretty much been able to follow the road, the road that's south from Tourmaline to Targos. And then before you continue on to Targos, you'll cut across to the other part of the road, say like right here. So it's the most direct route that you can take. As you draw closer to Bryn Shander, what you first notice is to the west, you see bright fires on the horizon again, much like you saw with Tourmaline. Only now it's about 8 in the morning. So the sun would be rising would be rising at this point. You should see some sunlight, but it's much as before to where the sun rising just only gives dim light, doesn't really give much. But you do see the fires on the west that you saw before. And as you're closing to the location of Bryn Shander, you see a line of what look like refugees from Targos heading to Bryn Shander. They're mostly just walking. Some people have axe beaks, the beasts of burden that they use here in Icewind Dale. Some people have like pack mules and some have dogs and stuff. And a lot of people are just carrying stuff, as they can. They all look kind of battered and stuff, and they're moving sort of in a single file, sort of an organized fashion along the road towards Bryn Shander. But Bryn Shander, you're probably just a few minutes away. But to describe this town, of all the towns that you've seen in Icewind Dale, this is the one that's most like a city that you would have seen elsewhere. It's built on a hill, in fact. And the population of Bryn Shander, to stay in a city this size, is probably like 1,200, which would make it easily the biggest city in all of Icewind Dale. But surrounding the city is an actual stone wall, and the wall is about 30 feet tall. And there are several entrances to this wall. There's one to the north, one to the south, and one to the east. And surrounding each of the gates are 2 large guard towers off of each of the entrances. But as you make your way to the road, you join in with the refugees that are heading from Targos.
Rogar will, as we pass someone, just the first person that he gets close to, a friend, tell us, is Bremen and Targos, what has happened?
Let me know what you would have done with Suzanne. You'd have time to prepare what you wanted to do with her before you'd have joined this group.
Can I be riding Suzanne?
Yeah, you definitely can.
I'll be riding Suzanne and making it clear that I'm in control, even though Suzanne's probably the boss.
as you ride up to the convoy of people moving, east, several people scream and give way as you approach with Suzanne.
It's okay. This is not the bad dragon. This is the good one. This is my friend. Suzanne, say hello. And then Suzanne probably roars.
And it has the effect of further terrifying the population. And it's really hard to read people's body language and all the furs and stuff that folks are wearing, but you can just tell by the way that people are giving you a wide space that they're just terrified of Suzanne.
People are impressed.
Yes, Suzanne has that effect. Friends, we are here to help in the defense of Bryn Shander. And that includes our dragon friend here.
And one of the figures separates from the groups and heads towards you, and he pulls back his hood, and it's a figure that you've seen before, but it's been a while. This is actually the guy that you guys saw on the lake, the fisherman on Mare Dualden, when you were trying to find the creature in the water there, when you were trying to fish. He's the one that you sort of met on the water. And as he pulls back his hood, you recognize him. His name's Captain Walda. And he says, "Oh, hello, friends. It's good to see you again. It's been quite a while. Did you ever manage to capture... You ever catch any scrimshaw? Oh, I can see you caught a dragon."
You do not catch a dragon. You just become good friends with them through encouraging words and motivations.
Indeed. Do you plan on using your dragon to fight the one behind us?
Yes, in fact, that is our plan, friend. We were able to help most of Lonelywood survive the attack, but unfortunately, we were not fully prepared in that encounter, and the dragon got away. The mechanical whatever that was. But we figured maybe Bryn Shander would be a good place to make a stand against it.
Well, that's what our speaker thought as well. There's no other place that's anywhere near as fortified as Bryn Shander, so that's where we're all headed.
I hate to ask this, but these Bremen and Targos, have they been destroyed?
Well, my friend, there is no Bremen anymore. When we left Targos, the dragon was flying overhead with its flame leveling the city. If you want to know, well, you seem like you're important people now. Why don't I get the speaker and you can catch up with him? And while
I assume we're saying this as we continue moving towards the town.
Yeah,
we're walking and talking.
Yeah, no one is standing. Like they've all reacted to Suzanne, but most people actually move faster towards Bryn Shander away from Suzanne. But Walda disappears for a moment and returns a second later with a human actually kind of in tow. And this guy is wearing nicer furs than everyone else. Most people are wearing, it looks sort of like random furs that they've taken off of animals. But this guy is wearing almost like a cloak that has, like a wide fur collar. And he's wearing, like a very very tailored clothing with the furs built in. And you can see that he's a human. He's very, very, he's groomed very closely and very nicely. Doesn't really have much of a speck of dirt on him at all. And he walks up and he says, hello, adventurers. It's good to see you, and especially with that dragon in tow.
Yes, we never did get to meet you when we visited your town, and I'm sorry.
Sorry for great many things, my friend. I am Speaker Nerth Maxildinar of Targos. Well, formerly of Targos, I should say, unfortunately.
Well, Laja, can you speak to the speaker and tell him our plan? I have to go to the bathroom. Sorry.
Oh, of course. I'm very sorry to hear about your town. We tried to stop it off in Lonelywood, but we only managed to just hurt it a little bit before it flew away. Um, we're hoping since Bryn Shander is a bit more fortified that we might be able to get perhaps some more well-trained people together to assist us in hopefully defeating this thing once and for all. We're a bit more well prepared than we were yesterday, so
Well, that's good to hear.
only pray that.
I left a small force behind in Targos to hold off the dragon as long as we could while we made our way here. Speaker Shane of Bryn Shander, she's quite young and inexperienced. She's going to need some help if she's to lead her forces against this thing. While Bryn Shander does have the best defenses of the entire realm, we're hoping that the forces of the speaker and the capable abilities of yourself will help to bring down this monster.
Of course. It's just this thing. I will be honest. This thing is probably as scary as you've realized, but we will be able to come up with something.
Yes, I
And
imagine.
then she's gonna look over to Rogar. Rogar, please. Even though Brad is not here, just
Oh, hello. Sorry, I was deep in prayer to Bahamut and Torm. What did I miss?
there is a speaker as well as in Bryn Shander, as well as some well-trained guards, I suppose I would call them up here. So once we arrive there, we're going to go talk to her and see if we can't get together a group to assist us.
That would be excellent. What we really need is help grounding the mechanical dragon.
Yes, I noticed that when it attacked Targos, it never left the air. We fired arrows at it, but of course, in the darkness, it was near impossible to hit it, being that the color was against the black sky itself. If you could bring it to the ground, that would probably make things much easier.
Maybe they'll have an idea in Bryn Shander. I have some. They are very dangerous.
Of course, see me as your friend, and if you have any ideas, I would certainly love to bring them on your behalf. As I said before, I'm looking forward to giving my leadership to Speaker Shane. She is quite young and inexperienced, I should say. She's recently been elected as Speaker. She may be paralyzed in fear here.
Do not hold youth against anyone. I know I may look like a veteran, but I am actually just 21 years old.
Of course, my friend, and I too am 21 years old. And he gives you a wink.
No, ask these people. The wastelands of winter are not kind to us all.
Yeah, Rorgar's like your great aunt. She's been turning 21 for years now.
Maxilinar laughs at that. And he looks at you, guard, and he says, "And you, my friend, what is your story? I imagine you're quite cold in that armor."
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing any more social constructs, no more conversations, no more social dancing. We have to get to a point. Let's get to it.
I mean, we are walking.
Oh,
but we
person
could
of
be moving
action.
Much faster.
I knew I liked you from the start very well.
No, I don't like you. You left men behind to let them be a sacrifice to the dragon. Great tactical mind you have there. And he's just going to move ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to hear you say that. I am not a fighter, of course, and I thought it would be better to bring valuable intelligence about the actions of the dragon to the place where we could do the most damage to it.
I think at this point, Rogar will kind of let Guardian take the lead. Probably because it's better if Guardian gets to the town first, ahead of Suzanne.
So as you climb the hill up to Bryn Shander, because it's on a sizable hill, you have to follow the road, in fact, because if you don't follow the road, there are steps cut into the road itself to help you climb this hill. And you can tell it's actually quite a defensible place from a ground force, Rogar, with your experience working with militias and everything. You could tell that if you were trying to assault this place from the ground without like a dragon like Suzanne, it would be quite difficult, because while there are 3 entries to Bryn Shander, you have to climb up this very narrow stairs to this steep incline to the city, and going off the road is pretty much impossible because of the steepness, and it's just pretty much rock all the way to the landing which the city is built on. It's not going to really do you any good against a flying dragon, but you can tell that this city probably in all other circumstances would be the best place to be.
Okay, Rogar takes a mental note of that as we head in.
And Maxwell Dinar, you guys have heard a lot about him, but it's been quite a while. If you can remember, there was a gentleman that you were looking for, Guardian, in Lonelywood to get a trinket from him. But he was the guy that had owned the inn, but had killed himself. And he owed a sizable debt to Maxwell Dinar, actually. And that's why all of his possessions had to be sold. So Maxwell Dinar is not an unknown name to all of you. You have heard him in places before. Moving along, as you join the group of people, it's going to bring your focus here to the north gate. That's where you're all entering in. The guards don't really seem to be stopping anyone, and there's a constant stream of refugees passing through the gate. And you can see as you're walking to the gate that not only is there a portcullis, there's also some large, very solid-looking wooden doors that can be closed and then bolted probably from the inside on this gate. So it could make a pretty sizable, barrier if they wanted it to. And the walls surrounding they look like they're not worn stone. They look like they were probably pulled off of the mountainside or the cliff that the city was made from. So they're kind of rough, but they form this 30-foot wall, and they look fairly solid. If you think Rogar, something like a catapult would probably take it down, but people themselves would have a hard time scaling it because of the way it's built. But there are guards circling at the top of the walls that are going back and forth looking, but they don't really seem to be paying attention to many of the refugees. And as you walk through the gate into the city, you see a lot. And first of all, what you see is all around the perimeter to like around here and kind of extending along the wall, there are large piles of stuff. And it's hard to tell what it is from this distance, but they're all on fire. And there's a terrible smell that's washing over you. And you see just large crowds of people. And there it looks like there are guards that are coordinating people where to go. And also what jumps out at you is that these guards look much better equipped than like the guards in Lonelywood. They're not carrying makeshift spears. They're actually wearing uniforms that have the logo of Bryn Shander on them, the arms of Bryn Shander, and they are wearing like swords and carrying metal spears, and most of them have like crossbows on their back. But it seems as though they're trying to direct the hordes of people that are coming into the city where to go.
I think I'll approach one of the guards and say, "Hello, me and my friends are here to hopefully help protect Bryn Shander when the mechanical dragon approaches."
And one seems to, he has his back to you as you say this, and he would probably have given you no mind at all, but then he turns and he sees Suzanne, and he jumps back and he says, "God's beak, you have a dragon!"
Yes, I know. Suzanne is dragon, but not mechanical, not destroying towns.
Do you have control of that thing?
Well, I'd like to. Suzanne does have a mind of her own, but Suzanne waved to the guard. I don't know if Suzanne actually would.
She probably flaps her wings, kicking up a bunch of snow and wind, and mostly everyone turns their attention to her as she's done this.
See? She listens,
Uh,
but she also has a bit of a bone to pick with that mechanical dragon.
I'd say we all do. I'm gonna go get the speaker and the sheriff. Imagine a group such as yours requires a little more than normal attention.
Thank you.
And he turns and hurries off. And as he does so, you watch him go down the main street into Bryn Shander. And most of the houses here are built of stone, and then they have wooden roofs. And it seems as though someone actually planned this city out. It seems much more deliberate and structured, with streets and everything more organized than, say, East Haven was, which looked a little more haphazard. But you notice several very tall buildings, like towards the center of town. You see a few of them. And Laja, your eye is actually drawn to the east in this direction. It looks like a chapel or a large church of some kind, and you can see from the distance, even as the sun is coming up, glistening off of the top of this building, there are clear symbols of Lathander that are made out of gold and that are catching just a bit of light from the rising sun.
I like this town. Hopefully we can keep most of it in one piece.
Maybe if there is time, the people there can give us a blessing.
Hey, it's worth a try. We can see how long until we think it's going to come this way.
But a
But
moment
then
passes.
again, we might only have a little bit of time to prepare.
A moment passes and the guard returns with a young human female. She looks like she might be in her early 20s. She has very pale skin, brownish hair. She's wearing more elaborate furs, not quite as elaborate as Speaker Maxildenar, but, more luxurious than you would expect. And she's wearing a shirt that has the emblem of Bryn Shander on it. And she turns the corner and the guard is kind of talking her head off, and she stops as soon as she sees Suzanne. And then she quickly approaches and she says, I thought the guard was out of his mind when he said there was a dragon at Bryn Shander. Wow, I'm Speaker Shane. You're very welcome here.
Hi, Speaker, Guardian of Goodmead. And pull out the little badge that he was given.
Oh, you're the new Speaker of Goodmead. Well, I only heard some very scattered news from Goodmead. It's good to make your acquaintance. Are you bringing the people from your town here?
No, I'm here to try and... With these individuals in Laja, we're here to help with the dragon. The other one. That's currently destroying that other town.
Targos, we've gotten some word from them. I see Speaker Maxildenar, and she kind of leans her head up. I see he has survived, Targos.
Unfortunately. He sacrificed good men so he can make his escape.
Well, everyone is welcome here. We have the tallest walls in all of Icewind Dale. I don't know what they'll do against the dragon, but I am working on places to hide everyone. We have very limited resources, unfortunately. We never planned for a dragon attack. I'm assuming you're here to help us fight.
This is no ordinary dragon. It is mechanical. It was built in Battlehammer Hold by the evil creatures that had taken it over.
Something with tentacles and eating the brains.
Yes, it's made of some sort of metal that is resistant to damage. And we need a way to get it out of the air.
Let me get the sheriff for you. He's been working on our defense efforts. And she turns to the guard and she says, no, find him. Wherever he is, tell him this is top priority. Get him here as soon as you can. And she says, I don't know much about what the sheriff's plan is. Most of my efforts have been trying to figure out how to hide or make safe anyone in the city to dragon attack. And I'm beside myself on what to do. But, and she looks up and she sees you, Laja, and she says, oh, are you a priest of Lathander?
I am. I've been doing some traveling around the 10 towns. I see you have a temple over there.
Yes, the Church of Lathander. I could actually use your help if you have a moment. Bishop Michon, he is the bishop of the temple. He is, well, he's difficult, I should say. He hasn't been very forthcoming on places that we could use. I know that the temple has a crypt, which would be a perfect place to hide people. If you could talk to him, I don't have time to deal with his idiosyncrasies right now.
Absolutely. I'm happy to try and talk to him. If the rest
And
of
if
you will
that
be
fails,
okay, I can head that way.
yeah, and if it fails, Lodge, let me know.
Well, hopefully we'll keep things, pleasant until the dragon comes.
When Guardian says, let me know, does he have the chains wrapped around his fists, like threateningly?
Oh, it's
He
always
can't
wrapped
get it
around his
off.
fist. Yeah,
I love it.
it just glows a little bit more when he says that to you.
And at that moment, another guard arrives with the sheriff of Bryn Shander. And the sheriff is also wearing finer furs, much like the speaker, but he is clad in what looks like partial plate mail, and it has to be padded so that it doesn't freeze, And he's carrying what looks like a larger sword at his belt. But he is also human. He has darker skin and a small bit of facial hair. But he walks up and he says, "Oh, thank the gods. I heard tell that a dragon had come to Bryn Shander, or at least not the one we were expecting. This certainly changes a few things. I hope you're here to fight."
Isn't it strange how we never got this reaction before, Suzanne? Sheriff, yes. We are here to hopefully prevent the destruction of your beautiful town.
Well, my men are, well, under normal circumstances, I think we'd be hard-pressed against a dragon of the kind that we're dealing with here, but they've been fighting through the night, if you haven't noticed, and he gestures to some of the piles that are burning. Well, we had a difficult time. Last night, these monstrous things attacked us during the new moon. They were blue lights that came from the snow, and we like I said, I lost many men. We were fighting constantly against them. They just seemed to be a never-ending stream of them.
Yes, we've had an encounter or two with them as well. I am sorry for your loss. Hopefully Torn and Bahamut will make sure they're safe on the other side.
Yes, you have to forgive me. I don't have much faith to put in gods at this moment. And Shane says to him, Sheriff, why don't you tell him your plan? I have many things to take care of. I'm sure they'd be helpful to assist you however they can. I need to go see about these people coming in from Targos to make sure that we have room. And Southwell just kind of gives her a nod, and Shane kind of runs off and starts directing people into a certain direction.
Oh, before the speaker leaves, can Rorgard tell her that we know the path that the dragon will be flying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll share that info.
And she says, that I will send someone on a dog sled to Dugan's Hole. That would be the next point if we somehow fail here. However, I'm hoping, and she looks to Southwell, I'm hoping we can bring it down. The other towns don't have anything near the defenses that we have, or at least the men. But thank you. Well, when you said that you had the path, I was hopeful that maybe it would not come to my town, but it looks like, as we feared, we are next.
Yes, the beings that had taken over Battlehammer Hold had some sort of beef with the 10 towns and designed this thing to purposely destroy them.
With the years that we've been having under this eternal winter, I can't say that I'm surprised. It seems as though everything, the heavens themselves, are working against us.
if it makes you feel a little better, I did shove the king of the Dwargar into the lava flow, and then we did kill the mind flayer. So we did that.
Well, didn't you also shove the guy in there with a control ability for this thing?
There is a control.
Yeah. We
So
talked about
sorry,
this.
if I had known that, maybe I would have been a little more careful.
I think this thing probably would have gotten out eventually if we weren't there. So, I mean, all we can do right now is just hope to head it off here and save the rest of the towns.
And she says, well, I'll leave you to the sheriff and his plan. Let me know, priestess, and she says to Elijah, if we can put anyone in the temple, if the bishop has any place for us, that would be good. I will make my way over there soon. And she turns to head off. But Southwell, he looks all of you up and down and he says, you look like you're all capable, able to handle yourselves. Is there anything else I should know?
Well, we've had one encounter with this dragon. Technically, one encounter with this dragon before. We were able to ground it temporarily, but we need a method to ground it permanently. Or
Well,
at least for enough time where we can do damage.
Our blacksmith Garn is, well, he was working on something to help us with the dragon. He is a, how should I put this? I shouldn't speak ill of the man, especially under these circumstances, but he may be a little out of his element. He is very good at repairing swords or fixing spears. Making a weapon to bring down a dragon might be out of even the normal realm of expectations for a blacksmith.
Guardian, don't you have some experience with smithing?
Yep.
Not to speak for my friend, but maybe he could help.
We would certainly welcome any help that your friend could give. I think Garn, while he's a little difficult at times, would also appreciate it.
The speaker said you had a plan.
Well, my plan is, if we can figure out some way to bring the dragon to the ground, all of my men are, in the town square is the biggest open area where a dragon would do the least damage, I would imagine. So if we could bring it down or at least keep it in that area, my men could surround it. Now, I've heard information from Targos that the armor on this thing is virtually impenetrable, but that's the best that we have. And he kind of turns to the guard next to him. We have sharp spears and swords. I'm hoping we can overwhelm it.
I believe my friend's blade, and motioning to Virion, I believe my friend's blade was actually able to do damage to this mechanical dragon.
Did seem to do something when I took a couple stabs at it.
Well, I don't imagine you have 100 more of those, do you?
Virion, do you?
Virion will look in his bag. I think just the one, but I'll double check when I get a better chance to look in my bag.
I heard you say that you'd fought the dragon before. Do you have any ideas?
Well, when we fought it, our initial plan was to have it sink into the lake. But it appears that that may not be an effective strategy after all. Suzanne was able to temporarily bring it out of the sky, but only for a moment.
Suzanne is your... And he kind of looks... You can see a bit of fear wash over his face as he looks at Suzanne. Suzanne is your dragon, huh?
I would not say mine. I do not own Suzanne. Suzanne has a mind of her own. But Suzanne is my good friend. Do we get a sense of what direction the attack will come from?
If it's coming directly from Targos, it would be like at this direction, which would be the northwest.
And would that line up with that area you described, that like narrow pass?
It's not necessarily a pass to the city, so the city is on a hill. The road that leads to the different gates is what's very winding, and this is really only a problem for a person on foot because they have to stay on the path. So like if you were going to defend this place, you'd put archers probably at the gates and shoot down at people trying to climb up the hill. It's probably built with that sort of defense in mind. Not going to necessarily work for something that can fly because it'll just fly over.
Okay, so actually the center of town might actually be the best idea. Okay.
Yeah, and his plan is center of town. It's the most open area. There's less likely for destruction or people to be hurt.
I wish I could
attach you to those towers.
I'm sorry, what was that?
How attached are you to those towers? Tall buildings.
And he looks to the building behind him. That's the city, the town hall. I'd say we're pretty proud of it. And then, of course, and he looks to the east, and that's the Temple of Lathander. We're also quite proud of that. It's the biggest temple in all of Icewind Dale.
Won't mean much if the city's all destroyed because of a big old dragon, would it?
Well, I mean, I would certainly sacrifice it for the town. What do you have in mind?
If we get the dragon in a good spot, we can drop one of them on it.
You mean bring the building down on it?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting plan.
I do have to say that I was going to talk to the bishop about having people hide in the crypt underneath the temple, though. So that might not be the best location for that.
There's also the town hall.
It is an interesting idea. If we could bury this mechanical dragon in rubble, theoretically, it would have a very difficult time
How will we get it into the building or like under the building if it's hard enough to get it out of the sky? I mean, we had trouble in Lonelywood of doing that.
You're right. Every time we do plans, they backfire.
So I think maybe we could try to repeat a similar thing, have Suzanne bring it down, and then we'll have more backup this time, more opportunities to attack it.
Unless this dragon killing weapon turns out to be something we can rely on, I think Suzanne may be our best option. And if Suzanne can wrestle this thing close to the tower, then so be it. We can topple the tower and keep the dragon on the ground.
One thing, I don't exactly have a way to bring down the town hall in anything.
That is a good point.
Let's see what the plan is. We make a plan, we don't do the plan, and then we go with another plan on the fly. And then that's how that all works out.
How about for now, while you guys figure out the details, I'll go try to speak to the bishop, see if we can't get some of these people in safety. Then you can fill me in when I get back.
That is a good idea. We do not know when this thing will approach Bryn Shander, so we should look after the town's people if we can.
So then I will head over to the temple.
And he looks to you, Guardian. And you, friend, if you could help Garn with whatever his proposal is. As I said before, he's not exactly the most creative, but he is definitely the hardest working blacksmith. He could use some ideas if you have them.
Fine, where is he?
He kind of gives you directions to where the smithy is. Down, probably towards more towards the southern part of town.
And he's gonna start walking.
I think Rorgar will ask Suzanne to kind of fly up and just stay above the town as like to watch for the coming mechanical dragon. Rorgar would actually love to go to the temple with Laja.
Okay. I think that just leaves us with Virian. What's Virian up to?
Virian is gonna head to the town center and see if he can just take a peek around for whoever might be in that area.
As you're making your way past the hordes and hordes of refugees that are trying to figure out where they go, you feel a grab kind of on your shoulder. And as you turn around, there is an elven female. And she's wearing really rough clothing, in fact. She's got... Well, let me shrink her token down so she's not quite so gigantor. But she's wearing furs that look to be very haphazard, lots of rags and things. She does have a pair of glasses, though, that she's wearing that look like they're in pretty good condition. But as you turn and you look at her, she says to you, "All beings should walk free of fear." And you see a flash of a silver emblem in her hand, and it's in the shape of a harp.
Beldora?
She says, "Yes, Prince. It's good to see you. I had heard that you would be making your way here."
Yes, a little bit delayed, but we've made it finally. How's everything been here so far?
Well, under normal circumstances, I would probably have much to share that didn't have to do with a dragon destroying all the 10 towns. But unfortunately, that is most all that I have to talk about.
Kind of taking precedent, that's for sure.
Yes, indeed. I have been researching the Zentarium quite a bit on the 10 towns. Our intelligence didn't quite shed enough on the situation here. And I would be happy to talk to you more about that once we're through this. But my chief concern now, which is why I made contact with you, is I noticed that Speaker Maxel Dinar has come to Bryn Shander.
Does that worry you?
He has always fancied Bryn Shander for himself.
Now he shows up here as there's about to be an attack.
Exactly. He has been quite outspoken for years about Speaker Shane and how young and inexperienced she is. I believe this is the perfect opportunity for something to happen to her, if you know what I mean.
He did mention to us as soon as we got here how inexperienced and young she is, so
he has...
That does stick out like a sore thumb, I suppose.
He has a history of always coming through every disaster better than it started. He is always on top of every situation.
All right. Well, when this all starts to happen, I'm going to keep a very close watch on him.
Thank you. I know you have much to deal with, and of course the dragon destroying the town takes precedence, of course, but I have a feeling that if he's going to make a move, this will be the time.
It would work out a little too perfectly for him.
Yes, imagine if something were to happen to Speaker Shane, who would be in the perfect position to take leadership, but another experienced speaker.
Yep, this would make a lot of sense. All right. Well, that's good to know. Thank you so much for filling us in.
And she kind of does like a little bow. And she says, "I will look for you after."
Yes, stay safe. Hopefully we can reconvene and discuss the Zentarum a little bit further and try and figure out what's happening there as well.
And she gives you a nod and turns into the crowd and disappears almost immediately. You realize that her dress has created the perfect camouflage for her. and I mean like the rags and stuff that she's wearing, she doesn't stand out at all from everyone else.
All right.
But while you're hanging around Virion, let's actually jump to the Temple of Lathander. So Rogar and Laja, as you enter the temple, you notice as far as temples go, it's quite decorative. It's very ornate in here, and actually the ceilings are very tall. There's curved arches and everything. There's all sorts of stained glass along the wall, perfectly aligned to catch the light from the rising sun. Even though the sun is diminished or it's dimmed by the haze in Icewind Dale, there's still a lot of light that's inside of this temple. There are also several candles all across the wall that are increasing the light in this room. But immediately when you walk in, you notice the temple is mostly deserted, Laja, but you notice there's all sorts of decoration and gold and everything. This is probably a very expensive temple for the people of Bryn Shander to build.
As we walk in, I think Rogar will whisper to Laja, Laja, this temple is as beautiful as any in Neverwinter.
It is. It's nice to be somewhere a little bit more like home, I guess. Let's see if we can find this bishop, and hopefully he'll take the risk of having people in here. I would feel bad to have him just try to avoid having damage come to this place and have all these people be in danger.
I will follow your lead.
And walking out of a side room comes Bishop Michon, and Bishop Michon is wearing very expensive, very ornate clothing of his station. Very covered in the symbol of the sun and things of Lathander. And he's also, he's got a very large golden necklace around his neck that has a large symbol of Lathander. As he approaches, he says, "My children, we are not having services at this time."
Greetings, Bishop. I am a fellow follower of the Morning Lord. I'm here to speak to you about the upcoming attack.
Ah, I see. You are another child of Lathander. And he holds out his right hand, and on his right hand, on his ring finger, is a large golden ring that has an emblem of the sun. And he's holding it out to you. And Laja, the procedure here is you're supposed to kiss his ring.
I'm going to go through all the pomp and circumstances appropriate, because I'll stay on his good side for now.
And he says, "Well, welcome, my child, to the Temple of Lathander. You may leave your worries here. Might I ask what brings you to my humble temple?"
As you are aware, there will be an attack in the next coming hours by a mechanical dragon that has been plaguing the 10 towns. The speaker was hoping that perhaps some of the people of the town could take shelter within the confines of the temple.
I've heard the speaker's concerns. Of course, things like mechanical beings are nothing to worry about under the blessing of Lathander.
All the more reason for people to take shelter. If there's one place that he will protect throughout this entire experience, it will be his home.
We take great pains to keep the temple in order.
Bishop, not to speak out of turn, and I am not a follower of Lathander. I am a big fan. Laja here has definitely proven that Lathander is a very powerful being, but this mechanical dragon is a real threat. We have fought it before, and we know what it can do. I beg of you to allow us to use your temple to help the people of this town.
Well, if you're asking for a blessing, I believe I can spare one for you, my child.
I actually do want the blessing, But we need more than that. We need shelter for the people of this town, the people that cannot defend themselves.
And he kind of scowls for a minute and he says, "The temple is not a place, a fortress for battle. This is a place to shelter one's eternal soul from damnation. I would be happy to give you a blessing and send you on your way, but I will not foul the temple with unbelievers like yourself to come in. Now, if you'll forgive me, I have other matters to attend to."
Bishop, there is no better way than to show people why to believe than to show them his kindness, and they will experience him from him protecting them. I don't see why you would leave this space to be empty when there are so many people out there who do need him, who need you to open your heart to them so that they can know Lathander's kindness.
My child, those that believe in Lathander will be protected, whether they are in the temple or not.
That is a very interesting stance to take, because my friend here has definitely not been so exclusive. She has helped many throughout the 10 towns, whether they believe or not. She has been a beacon, a dawnbringer. I feel like you are not a good example of a follower of Lathander.
Laja looks really, really uncomfortable.
Well, I won't stand here and be insulted, especially not one you who doesn't even follow the faith. And he looks to you, Elijah, and I would think you, priestess, should think of who you choose as a companion to come into such a holy place and speak such blasphemy.
Bishop,
I know that he just cares very deeply about the people here in the 10 towns, and I know this does not reflect upon you. It's just I believe in this time that you should open yourself up to the variety of people that we have in this place. I'm sure that they will come to know.
Bishop, I know you are a holy man, and Laja, you might not appreciate, you might not like what I am about to say, but I have taken an oath, and the tenets of my oath mean that I must fight the greater evil, and I must protect the weak by any means necessary. So, Bishop, this is not a request. This is an order. You will allow people into this church so they will be safe.
And he kind of steps back a minute and he says, "You come into this place and you threaten me?" And he looks to you, Elijah, and he says, "You, priestess, do you hear what he's saying? Take him out of here immediately."
Laja's gonna stand a little bit flummoxed about what's going on right now. Just like,
How tall is this bishop?
He's an elderly human male. He's probably like 5'11", close to 6 feet, so about 2 meters tall, but he's very hunched over. So I would say he's shorter than Wargar by about a head, probably.
Rorgar is going to step within 5 feet of him, and he is going to say, I have to fight for these people. And right now, you are just as evil as that dragon.
I'm sure we can figure something out here, Borgar. Please, Bishop. Are you just going to leave these people out there to be, I don't know if you understand exactly how big this problem is. It's destroyed several other towns. We barely managed to drive it away from Lonelywood.
No, Lonelywood is renowned for its unfaithfulness and debauchery. Yeah, this temple and this town are under the protection of Lathander. As I said, I will give a blessing, and the Morning Lord will protect us from anything mechanical or otherwise. This temple has stood for 300 years, and it will stand for 300 more years.
I shove him.
He easily falls over. Like, you don't even have to make a roll.
You
because
coward. You are a coward. We are prepared to spend our life defending this town. And what are you prepared to do? Nothing. I spit on you. And Rogar will actually spit on him.
And he holds his hands up.
I'm attempting to intimidate him.
It's working very well. Like, he's starting to slink backwards. He holds his hands up like he's expecting to attack him at any moment.
I am sorry, Elijah, but this man is not worthy of any praise, or he's not worthy. A true follower of Lathander, he's not. Not like you. You have brought light to the 10 towns. What has this man brought? Nothing. Darkness. He refuses to help anyone.
And he says, "You, priestess, you will remove him. Stop him. Don't let him hurt me. Don't let him destroy the temple."
She's going to very gently pull Rogar back and say, "There's no reason for us to fight right now. I can't say that I approve of your choices here, Bishop. I'm not sure that the Morning Lord would appreciate it either."
And he says, "Remember your station, priestess. I am a bishop. I am much closer to the ear of the Morning Lord. He speaks directly to me. I know what his will is. You are but a lowly priestess, and a dwarf besides."
So you're a racist too? Wow.
"Go, leave this temple now before I call the guards to throw you out."
Rogar will look to Laja.
It's fine, Rogar. We will find some other way to help the people. But I'm not so sure that, and she's walking away as she says that, but she'll say it loudly enough that he can hear. I'm not too sure that Lathander will look upon this as kindly as he probably would otherwise.
Bishop, you're lucky that this one, pointing to Laja, this one is a true believer and someone worth following. But if your lack of action causes anyone to suffer, I will return here. Even in death, I will return here, and I will bring destruction down upon you.
And he backs away, and he kind of makes sure that you're moving away as he says this. He's kind of shouting as you're leaving, but he says, "I'm not afraid of you. I have the protection of the Morning Lord. He will look after me. He is as eternal as the light of day."
Well, if this temple is to be destroyed in this attack, we will build a better one in this place. And I'm out the door now.
I think I'll follow Laja out, and I'll say a quick prayer to Lathander and Torm as I leave.
Nice.
Just hoping for a real follower to one day lead this church.
Nice. So let's catch up with Guardian. We move to another scene. And Guardian, you've made your way to the smithy as described. It's very easy to find because while most of the buildings are, getting boarded up and locked up, the smithy, as you've gotten the general directions, you can see the the cloud of smoke coming from it, you can hear work being done, so you make your way there very easily. As you enter the smith, the door is actually open. You see a dwarven male who, he's kind of on the shorter side even for a dwarf. He has, it's kind of wearing like a mohawk, and he has tattoos on the side of his shaved head. And he's kind of grumbling to himself, and you see he's working on something in the forge. It looks like a large spear, and he doesn't even notice you as you enter.
Yeah, some Sir Growling will make sure the metal forms correctly.
Damn steel. Don't know what I'm trying to make here. Take down a dragon, they say. Damnable dragons, damnable cold.
Right. What are you trying to make?
He turns to you. Name's Garn. They call me the Hammer. I'm the smith here.
He'll stop for a second. Like, I didn't ask your name. I asked what you're trying to make.
I'm sure you think you're quite impressive, huh?
He's just gonna pull off his helmet. Yes.
Well, that's the strange thing. He just kind of stands there blankly.
Now answer.
And Guardian, as you're waiting for him to answer, you notice around the smithy that, he has lots of tools, of course, for working, but you notice that he has lots of swords and shields and things that are in various stages of being completed. And you notice that the craftsmanship isn't bad. It's very simple, though. It's very basic. Like, it's probably very functional, and the stuff he makes is probably very solid, but it's not creative at all.
Let's walk up to one of those swords that's not finished yet. Hasn't been quenched yet.
Well, that one, the guy who ordered it decided not to pay me, so when he pays me, I'll finish it.
This quality of work, huh? And I'm just gonna snap it over my knee.
I imagine you think you're quite impressive, huh?
Again, yes. You have no respect for anything you craft. If you had any talent and any respect for the metals and weapons you make, you would have done it all the way through. Even if someone didn't pay, you could still show it off and make money on the next sale then. But instead, you let it sit and let it be unfinished.
Of course, easy for you to walk into here and say that, but you forget about Night of the Frostmaiden, human sacrifices, undead creatures attacking us all the time. And then, oh, by the way, Garn, stop what you're doing, build us a way to take down a cursed dragon. Now let's just talk about how terrible craftsmanship I make, when also excluding the daily threats to my life all the time. Sure.
What was that phrase? Boo fucking who?
He kind of looks at you, and for a minute you think he's probably going to put down his what he has in his hand and hit you with his hammer. And then he kind of grins, a wide grin. He has, that's right, boo fucking me. Hey, do you drink?
Don't have the stomach for it.
I don't imagine you do. And he goes over and grabs himself what looks like a big bottle of something, and he takes a drink of it. So did you have any ideas how to take down a dragon, or did you come here to cry?
Well, first I came here to see some good ideas, but then I walked in through the door and saw you. So that idea went out the window. It's a construct dragon. Battlehammer Forge. Made
Well,
with metal like this, and he's just gonna tap his gauntlet. A little more twisted.
well, I figured I'd make us a spear. Don't know much what else to do here. They want me to take down a dragon. Any ideas how I would do that?
Well, if it was a normal dragon, sure. It's a metal one, so no. But bringing it down isn't the main issue. We have a way to do that ourselves. Keeping it down is something we need. So, chains and anchors. If
Well,
my idea of bringing down a tower on it won't work, what we can do is we can have some of the guards hammer into the ground as quickly as they can with metal chains. Hopefully keep it pinned.
And he says, well, as far as metal pins, I've got some large ones I was working on the crossbow over here. And he points to the table behind him, Guardian, and you look and you see he's working on a pretty solid-looking crossbow made out of some wood, probably from like Lonelywood, and then more of a steel casing. And your mind kind of drifts. Funnily enough, your mind drifts very quickly to something else. Like you think of a crossbow, and then you think of a ballista, like a large crossbow. And before you know it, you continue to think further and further back, and a moment of very intense clarity comes to you in an elvish city. And in fact, you were thinking back to where you were just at. You were walking on patrol, taking a look at the defenses of the city, although the city has had no threats for years and years to come. But you just stopped at a point, a large landing in the city, where the city for a long time had these large ballistas that you'd built to defend off against rocks, which are large eagles. And what the city had done, what you guys had done, is you'd built these large ballistas, which are essentially large crossbows, to fire large nets at these things to bring them down. Now you remember this memory as if it just happened yesterday, but you chose to use nets instead of like arrows because rocks are very quick and very difficult to shoot. But you remember the process was using these ballista to fire a net, and then the net would wrap the rock down, and then you could pull it down to the ground through a rope and secure it that way and then kill it. But you're thinking about that as you're inspecting the ballista here, and you see it's, of course, very fine elven craftsmanship made out of, mithril and everything. And the netting, which hasn't been used for centuries because it's not necessary, is built, it's made out of like a mithril, very thin thread, so nothing that you wrapped in it could break free. But just kind of casually inspecting the defenses here of your elvish town.
He's just gonna run his hand over the ballista. Is he coming back to the smith now?
No,
where he's at?
You have. What happened was you were thinking back to a memory, and then just like a snap, you were in this place. And in this place, you see all the things of the elvish city. You smell the smells. You hear the sound of the leaves. And in fact, you feel like a cold breeze coming from the east, which is the start of winter. It's actually, the end of fall. And you're thinking about where you should be right now. You should actually be getting ready for the coronation, but you don't like to shirk your duties as a member of the guard of the city. You don't like the idea of walking away from your duties, even for an hour for this coronation. Seems a little silly.
Okay.
But as you glance around, you hear from behind you someone say, it's time to go. I know that you would like to stand here all day. And as you look, you see a younger elvish male. He is wearing sort of ornate armor, but it looks like a mixture between leather and plate. And he's carrying like a bow on his back, and he's got a big smile. And you immediately recognize this person, and his name is Corin. And Corin says, "Come on, we have to get to Prince Kislar's coronation."
Oh, very well, and you might want to tuck in your undershirt. Bit of it sticking out.
He laughs and he says, "You should look at yourself."
I am the perfection of an officer of this imperial regiment. I am nothing but prim and proper. Everything is polished, spick and span. No hint of rust on anything. He just gives a smile. He's like, come on. Make sure that Talon feeds her Stovaker tonight. You know how he gets when he's hungry.
Yes, indeed. We've talked about this many times. We really should get to the coronation before we're missed. You don't want to explain where we are.
Simply on patrol, but yes, let's get going.
And with the flash, you are back in the smithy now, Wargar, and you remember with intense clarity this ballista that you saw in your quick vision there is a ballista that the elves use to bring down rocks like large eagles. And in this case, you look around and you kind of your line of thought started with this crossbow on his table, and you realize that if you built this crossbow a little larger, you could actually build a net to do kind of what the elvish ballista did, of course, much cruder.
He's just gonna stand there for a second. He's just gonna kind of like turn his head to the side, back and forth, just try and think. But make this but larger, capable of shooting a splintering type bolt. It's able to open up mid-flight with a net. You can do that, right?
Interesting. A net, you say? You want to tangle a dragon with a net, huh?
Do I need to spell everything out for you?
Well, let's see. You know, we do actually have a lot of netting that we use to export to Targos for fishing.
Well, I think you can cancel their order because they're gone.
Yeah. No one's gonna be sad for that place being gone. It's a shithole.
And so's the speaker from there, too.
You won't hear any disagreement on my side. I owe him lots of gold.
Well, then you better work quickly because he's in town.
You sure we gotta stop the dragon?
You like living, right?
Well, if the speaker from Targos is here, could we just slow it down?
Well, it's already destroyed a couple of towns, and one of the towns that it's going to hit is a place I'm actually the speaker of. Hey, if we get through this, and if you're really upset here, welcome to Goodmead.
Well, and that's something. And he turns the bottle that he's holding, and you can see it's a label from Goodmead, actually. It's the honey mead from Goodmead. You wonder why I owe the speaker money? I kind of have a problem.
Well, if you do good, and this little project works, I'm sure the speaker of this town will put in a good word for you and clear up any outstanding issues.
Well, I kind of like that. Yeah, but your idea, larger scale crossbow, yeah, I think we can make that work. And he grabs a piece of paper and he starts sketching it. And his idea is a large ballista that could probably be manned by 2 or 3 people. And he struggles a bit, but with your guidance, he kind of roughs out what a net would look like of size to tangle like a dragon like you're imagining here. And he says, well, the only problem is this is a fishing net, and it'll do good against fish, but I don't know about a dragon. You'd probably want all 3 on this thing. And then, I don't know, you do whatever you're going to do.
Well, if we launch enough nets at it, enough to mess up its flight pattern, it'll come crashing down. We will be having a dragon helping us out with this, too. This is just an added layer of fuckery.
I imagine if you tangle it up, you could, with enough people or dragons or whatever, you could move it for a ways. Yeah, you gotta... I mean, we got enough net, of course. It's not gonna have much of a range. It's gonna take a long time to reload. But, you know. The good thing about the net, though, and he kind of looks at his spear a little regretfully. The good thing about the net is you don't really have to aim very well. So I guess this is a little better.
We'll get started.
Do you know how to swing or hammer, or you just like to talk trash?
pull those maul. But if you're talking about a forge, yes.
He's like, all right, well, let's get to work.
Yeah, he'll go help.
And what you two start to work on are these ballista that he has imagined, and it's not something you can carry. It's something that's actually going to be on like a platform that can be moved. But you can tell you actually probably have enough resources to build 3, and it'll take you a few hours, the two of you working pretty hard. But you notice that Garn is actually a very hard worker, and now that he knows what to build, he starts right away on it.
Just watching him, like, watch your folds. And make sure you're tapping that down correctly, too. You need to get the impurities out if it's going to hold.
Under his breath, he's kind of muttering, well, your mom probably had impurities.
I just keep working. I imagine Gargan's more like a machine when he's working. Like, his movements are calculated. Doesn't stop to wipe the sweat off his non-existent brow.
And some time passes, and I'd say, Garden, if you want to commit to this will probably take you about 4 hours, the two of you working together on this.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that time, we're going to transition back to the city. Varian, you haven't really gotten much as you've been wandering around. It's mostly people running around in kind of chaos here. But I'd say after some time, you find yourself kind of just wandering the streets, and you see the temple ahead, like you've kind of made your way into that direction, and you see ahead of you are Laja and Wargar coming from the temple, and they look a little upset.
You guys get some bad news over there, or what happened?
Yes, it. I do not wish to speak ill of members of the faith, but that
Have
bishop
you
is
ever dealt with bureaucracy before?
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yes, when I was a member of the town guard in Neverwinter, I had a few superior officers who seemed to also act as assholes. Loja, is asshole the correct word in common?
I think I would say so. I think I would say probably the reason why he hasn't uh, aged as gracefully as the Morning Lord could have allowed is probably because of his behavior. And you'll see that she's smiling.
It's a very diplomatic way to put it.
Well,
Shoving
anyway, I
himself
suppose we
to
should talk to the speaker.
Yes, that is true.
Yes. Finding the speaker is very necessary.
Laja,
We need to make some other kind of arrangements.
I do apologize for my behavior in the house of faith, but that man was awful.
I don't know if it's just something that happens up in the 10 towns and makes people a little more, I don't want to say cold-hearted, but I think that's probably the right term here. Back where I come from, I don't think there would have been a problem with letting people inside of the temple, even if that means that the pristine nature of the temple will be defiled. Ooh. But I don't want to continue fighting when we can be preparing.
Yes, if we defeat this dragon, then the people of this town will be saved.
We'll just do our best for now.
But they
Have you
did still.
seen anything, Virian, while you were out and about?
I did speak to someone who kind of told me that the speaker's life could be in danger given what's happening here beyond all the dragon stuff happening. The other speaker that we met with earlier today is apparently known for taking advantage of tragic situations, and he might be plotting to take over the leadership of this town should anything happen. So I think it's best to warn the speaker of this town that her life might be in jeopardy.
Wait, are you saying Speaker Maxil Dinar is an asshole too?
Shockingly enough, yes.
Everyone
town
is just the worst here in the 10 towns.
Everyone's an asshole, and this town needs an enema.
Explain this enema to me. I common is second language for Rogar.
It's
Let's just go speak to the speaker.
as we head over to speak to the speaker, Virian will very graphically tell Rorgar what an enema is.
Oh, but somehow I feel it might be refreshing.
I mean, it would have to be.
I'm just dying over here because why would you need an enema if you had healing magic? But, we won't talk about it. It's all right.
It's magical
Not everybody
too.
can afford healing magic.
There you go. You do manage to catch up with the speaker. She did say she was going to make her way back over to the temple, and you haven't been able to find her like in the crowds, but by just waiting a minute, she does make her way back to you. And you can see she has various members of like the guard following her, and she's giving directions like, this person go here, or take people here, or you know what, this house has a basement, take them there. And she eventually catches up with you. You can tell she looks even more fatigued. It's only been probably close to 4 hours since you last saw her. And, she already looks very tired.
Speaker Shane, how is all your preparations going here?
Well, it's not good. If I'm talking about to deal with a dragon, we just don't have... We always planned on a land attack. This place is very defensible. We fought off trolls, we fought off Yeti, and we fought off those blue creatures last night. We've always dealt with things from the land, never from the air. We're completely unprepared. I can't put people in houses because if the houses collapse, but there's no other place for them.
You're doing what you feel is right, and that's the best you can do for your people. Speaking of not being prepared for an attack, I do have some troubling news. Well, not really news, but your life may also be in danger beyond the dragon.
And she kind of raises an eyebrow. If I don't know that I can worry anymore for myself at this point. Is it
all right?
Is it anything pressing? Because I just have too much to deal with at this moment.
It could be pressing, and I'd hate to add more stress and worry on your mind, but if you do find yourself in the vicinity of Speaker Max, I would tread very lightly, and I might suggest keeping ourselves nearby just in case. There's just it might be nothing, but it's very possible that it might be something as well.
And she kind of looks down. Thank you for the warning. Maxil Dinar has actually disappeared since I saw him enter town. I thought that we could exchange information about this dragon to give us more knowledge about what to do, but he's disappeared. I haven't seen him at all. Now that's easy to do in this city with so much chaos and people, but I thought he would have found me immediately, but I haven't seen him.
That is strange, because when we spoke to him on the road, he said he was going to attempt to give you assistance. Turns out he's a liar. Ha, I am not surprised.
She laughs. He is a very good politician. He often promises help after it's needed. He's somewhat of a snake.
That seems to be the consensus among everyone I've spoken with.
And speaking of snakes, the bishop in the House of the Morning Lord appears to be quite a venomous one. We were unable to convince him to house the refugees during the attack.
He was about as uncooperative as you made him sound to me.
And she shakes her head. I'm so sorry. He's grown worse as he's gotten older, and the stress of life in the Tin Towns, I believe, has affected him as much or more as it has the rest of us.
Have now that the morning has actually come, has the attack by those undead creatures ceased?
Yes, it lessened, and then seems to have stopped in the morning. And she kind of turns towards the billowing smoke from the fires around the perimeter of town. If you haven't noticed, I gave the order to burn the bodies of the dead. I hope that has helped. The rumor is that these creatures come from our dead that have been left in the ice or snow. We made an effort to separate the burning bodies from refugees, but in this chaos, I'm trying to keep people away, but maybe it's helped. I don't know.
I have a sneaking suspicion that these undead are actually the sacrificed coming back.
That is a horrible thought. In fact, here in Bryn Shander, I'm not happy to say, but we do a human sacrifice to the Frost Maiden on the night of the new moon. We had been prepared to roll out the poor individual when all of this happened, and the news of the dragon attack, and then these creatures started attacking us, so we never even made our sacrifice. I'm not too sorry about that, but maybe it's our comeuppance for the terrible things we've been doing.
Actually, I believe we saw the Frost Maiden last night. And as Rogar says that, he clutches and as tightly as he can clutches his holy symbol.
It's said that those that see her lose their mind.
Strange. I feel fine. As his knuckles are white from clutching his holy symbol. Laja, Virian, I feel no effect.
Who are you calling insane? Who's losing their mind?
I feel like at this point we have bigger problems to deal with. We can reevaluate ourselves once we know that this entire place is safe.
Above you at this moment, Rogar, you get a mental emotion from Susanna circling above the town, and you hear from her in your mind. She says, well, the emotion you feel from her, it's kind of a mixture of panic and excitement. But what you hear from her immediately afterwards, she says in your mind, Mother, the cold one, he approaches.
Speaker, it appears that our foe is now approaching Bryn Shander. My friend was keeping watch over the town.
She says, thank you. I'll send the word to ring the bells and for everyone to take shelter. I hope your other friends have a plan.
If it makes you feel at least a little better, Speaker, I intend to either kill this dragon or die fighting.
And she says, that is my plan as well.